So today's focus areas are access to pharmaceuticals, access to clean water, and environmental protection. My first guest, Dr. Bengt Mattson, who's Policy Manager at LIF, the Swedish Pharmaceutical Industry Association, is here to explain.
Both are fundamental to secure long-term sustainable health. I'll show some different ways pharmaceutical substances could enter out into the environment. Very often we talk about APIs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, coming out into the environment. And if we focus human pharmaceuticals, patient excretion, patient being treated by pharmaceuticals and they excrete substances, either mother substance or metabolites, stands for roughly 88% of the substances that we do find out in the environment. An incorrect disposal of unused medicines, roughly 10% on a global scale of the substances we have measured. And that leaves roughly 2% coming from manufacturing operations. However, it's very important to remember that those 2% could be discharged at pretty high concentrations from the manufacturing operations. So it's extremely important that we secure that we do not have unacceptable releases or discharges from manufacturing operations. The simple reason for us to not want to see the APIs out in the environment is, of course, that they are biologically active. So they are intended for a medical impact on us humans or on animals, and they will therefore potentially also have biological activity for water living organisms. It's also important to remember that many of these substances are stable. They're stable molecules. The simple reason for that is that, of course, we want them they cannot start to degrade in the body before they've done their medical impact. There has been several reports on occurrence of active pharmaceutical ingredients out in the environment or in nature. And these reports on occurrence of pharmaceutical substances actually exist from across the globe. In many cases, very, very low concentrations. It's far below any therapeutic effects or levels. It's important to understand that occurrence does not equal a risk. On this slide, we've plotted the maximum PEC to PNIC, predicted environmental concentration, to predicted no effect concentration, which could be seen as some kind of a safe concentration. We plotted that for a number of different pharmaceutical substances. The data presents the environmental concentrations measured or predicted on the EU country with the highest exposure. And as you'll see, it is only very, very few cases where these concentrations are high enough to pose an environmental risk. Well known in this discussion is sex hormones, including ethinyl estradiol, the substance in the contraceptive pill. And I think that's a very good example where the value of access to that product is obvious to everyone. But what could we do to eliminate or limit at least any potential environmental impact or environmental risk? Next slide has some suggestions. And remembering that the vast majority of pharmaceutical substances do not pose a risk, in those cases where we see that, we need to find a way to secure access to medicine, of course, as well as access to clean water. From our point of view, responsible manufacturing, no unacceptable discharges from operations. But another perspective, of course, is what we call prudent use, responsible procurement practices, responsible prescribing, responsible disposal, and where relevant and needed, also upgrading of public wastewater treatments to be able to eliminate potentially persistent micropollutants, which would include pharmaceuticals. I'll show you some of the industry initiatives under the umbrella of EPS or eco-pharmacostewardship. A lot of different components, as you see. Just let me shortly highlight the Meds Disposal campaign, where we look on correct or incorrect disposal of unused medicines, as well as the AMR Industry Alliance, the PSCI, Pharmaceutical Supply Chain Initiative, which all talk about manufacturing effluent management. And I really recommend you to look into those initiatives. So, in summary, the clear objective for us is to take part and a lot of collaborate initiatives and actions, which could both be legislative and non-legislative, that secure access to medicines as well as access to clean water, both being fundamental to reach long-term sustainable health. Thanks for listening.